America, built on the dream of upward mobility, has become a country of deepening divide between rich and poor. The surest way to narrow the wealth gap is to earn a college degree. Now, major universities like Princeton are working to lower the price of admission through a new kind of affirmative action, not based on race, but on low income status. It began with two of America's wealthiest parents, Bill and Melinda Gates. They spent more than $1 billion putting low-income minority students through college. Before they tell you what they learned, come meet some of the Gates Millennium Scholars.
I'm Bill. How are you?
Imagine having a couple of billionaires walk into your life and make the seemingly impossible possible.
Hi, Kyra.
Nice to meet you, Kyra.
That's what Bill and Melinda Gates did for these students at the University of Central Florida. They're among 20,000 nationwide whose tuition and expenses were paid in full. When you were notified that you received the scholarship, was that a letter, an email, a phone call? How did that come to you?
A letter.
Came as a snail mail?
Yes.
Really?
I think it was priority.
The founder of Microsoft, and you got a snail mail acceptance letter. When you got that letter, what did you think?
My mom, she opened my mail, and then that's when she broke the news to me that I got the scholarship. I'm sorry.
Nearly 70% of Americans don't have a degree, and Kyra Kelly was destined to be one of them. She grew up in poverty, and even today, she wastes nothing, because as a child, she often had only one meal a day, the free lunch at school.
I guess I never really dreamed of going to college. I just knew I just had to do what I could do to make sure that my family and I could survive.
When you started the scholarship, what were the big questions that you wanted to answer?
Well, one was whether a group of minority students could have very high achievement, go to the toughest universities if there was no financial constraint.
You assume that minority students would do as well in higher education, but what you were looking for was data, hard facts.
You bet. What's proven itself out now with the scholarship programs, you remove that barrier, they not only do as well as their white peers, no matter what zip code they're from, they often actually do better.
The Gates program looked for good students, but not necessarily the top of their class. The results have been remarkable. Nearly 90% of the Gates scholars have earned a degree, and that's life-changing, because on average, graduates earn $1 million more in their lifetimes.
Make some observations.
Now it's Kyra Kelly who's doing the teaching, after earning a bachelor's and master's degree in education with her Gates scholarship. As college becomes more expensive and student debt rises, what's at stake for America?
Well, it's a huge problem. We'll have a two-class society where the richer families are able to support the scholarship, and you'll have an inner city, mostly minority group that's no longer going to those elite colleges, and therefore a lot of the high-paying professions are out of their reach. So that's really bad at an individual level. It's also very bad for the country and our basic founding credo of equal opportunity and our economic strength.
Bill Gates' warning echoes on the quad of Princeton University.
We have to be a place where people can come together from lots of different backgrounds. And
President Christopher Eisgruber is leading the nearly 300-year-old school through a radical transformation. You know, the 20th century activist Upton Sinclair described Princeton as, quote, the most perfect school for snobbery in America.
we look back and we see those kinds of quotations about us, and we have been working to produce a very different Princeton. And this commitment we have to be a real leader on socioeconomic diversity is a big part of taking the next step for us and making the right kind of difference in the world.
To make his point, Eisgruber showed us yearbooks going back 100 years.
This one's from way back in 1915. And you can see, obviously, we're all male and we're all white.
68 years later, Eisgruber graduated from Princeton.
So we've run the clock forward pretty rapidly.
Now we have women.
Now we have women.
And here's an African-American student, but only occasionally in 1983. Over the next 30 years, minority representation more than doubled to 40%, but it wasn't enough. 60% of its students were still from the top 10% income bracket. So Princeton decided to start recruiting students based on socioeconomic status.
We realized we had to train our readers in the admissions office to look for different things in these applications. A kid who's working 2 jobs to help bring money home and achieving great grades isn't going to have the same kind of extracurriculars as a kid from an elite private school in New York.
But if 2 applicants with the same test scores, the same GPA apply, are you going to prefer the first-generation low-income student?
We do think those students supply something special on this campus, so yes, we're looking for that.
It's a new kind of affirmative action, it sounds like.
Yes, it's a new way of making sure that we have the diversity on our campus to deliver on the kind of education that we care about and that the world needs.
Last fall, we met some of Princeton's chosen ones. Toyeen, Mason, Kelton, Jackson, and Jalen are first in their family to go to college. With Chris and Tyler, they're considered low income. At Princeton, that means household income of less than $65,000 a year. Be honest, how many of you stepped onto the Princeton campus for the first time and thought to yourselves, I may not make it?
Almost immediately, like 2 seconds in, there it was.
What intimidated you?
The school looked like Hogwarts.
It's true.
And I had never been in an institution that looked so expensive and old in my life. It just seemed like everyone was so much more capable, and it made me feel very small.
But Jalen figures she's part of a new community, the Flies. That's short for first generation low income. You're sitting here wearing a Fly is Fly t-shirt. What does the shirt mean?
So, Fly is Fly is a campaign educating Princeton students on the resources available to first-generation low-income students, and also working to destigmatize this sort of first-generation low-income, low socioeconomic status.
Princeton helps these students succeed with summer programs and seminars on public speaking, resume writing, and networking.
We really want to develop your fluency in what's essentially relationship building, right?
I feel like a lot of our peers knew from the jump how to navigate college. Their parents were like, you need to do this, you need to do this, and a lot of us did not have that privilege. And then it felt like they already had a leg up and that we're struggling to catch up.
I was having this discussion and it's like, oh, well, we're gonna go to New York for the weekend. Let's all go to New York. It's like, I can't go to New York. I gotta stay here. I have to do my job. This is literally my job.
This year, 28% of Princeton's freshmen are first generation or low income. 60% of the student body receives financial aid. Your student body isn't infinite. By accepting some of these first generation low income students, you must be turning down some highly qualified kids, maybe kids who have Princeton in their family history.
Yeah, Scott, one of the things that is so tough about our admissions situation right now is we're turning down 93.5% of the kids who apply. So as we've taken up our low-income students who are still underrepresented in our population, we've had to make other tough choices about other students.
Is this idea of bringing up the lower socioeconomic class into higher education a movement in this country?
I think it is a movement right now, at least among college and university presidents. I think there's a recognition that in this country right now, some of the divisions that we need to heal are around economic class, and we need to be paying attention to that.
Among those paying attention are the presidents of some of the largest public universities. In 2013, backed by the Gates Foundation, they formed the University Innovation Alliance, headed by Michael Crow, president of Arizona State University.
Within each school, what's worked and what hasn't worked, I can tell you.
In 4 years, Alliance schools have increased low-income student graduation by nearly 30%. How did you do it?
We did it basically by innovating our culture. We changed our culture from faculty centrism, that is, we're there for the faculty, to student centrism, we're there for the success of the students. Now that might sound like we should have been doing that all along, but the academic culture is often built around the academic as opposed to being built around the student.
They've lowered tuition costs by making it easier for students to transfer from community college and by increasing online learning, so students can both work and stay in school.
Bill, we talked a lot about the needs of the students, but what are the country's needs going forward in terms of a workforce and education?
Well, the economy is constantly changing, and automation is taking away a lot of the jobs that you could do with only a high school degree. And so if we look at the current trajectory of how many kids are going to college, we're going to fall over 10 million jobs short of being able to fulfill the demand. Also, as we're competing with countries, China and many others, they will get ahead at their education level, gets beyond ours. And so it's great for the individual, but it's also important for the strength of this country.
A country that, if their dreams come true, can expect from these low-income students a future lawyer, entrepreneur, president, and professor.
What do you think the class of 1970 would think of this group?
Diverse.
They wouldn't be able to believe that you were at Princeton, their Princeton.
I hope they wouldn't think it's their Princeton. It's kind of like our Princeton now. Like, that's the good thing about it, is like we're so diverse, and like that's the best thing about this whole change that's happening. It's our Princeton, and like 20 years from now, it's going to be someone else's Princeton that may look a whole lot different than this, and I think that's the beautiful thing about it.
Mm-hmm.
A few miles from the White House in Southeast Washington sit some of the worst public schools in America. The students there are mostly poor, mostly black, and their test scores are low. Only 1 in 3 finish high school. Of those who do go on to college, just 5% graduate. But right in the middle of the same area is also one of the most successful and innovative public schools in the country. Started in 1998, the school is called SEED. It's the nation's first urban public boarding school. 91% of the students finish high school, and 95% go on to college. It's a charter school that's getting national attention. Admission is by lottery, open to any family in the district willing to take a chance.
Girl 41.
This family was one of the few who won the lottery last spring. A $35,000 per year education paid for by private and government money.
Boy 12.
Only a third of the over 200 or so kids who applied heard their number called. With the child's future at stake, emotions ran high.
38.
The Grants were another family who won the chance to change their child's life.
When that number was called, describe that feeling.
It was shocking. I didn't think that was going to happen.
When he said 38, I didn't hear anything but joy.
Why does this mean so much to you?
It's called opportunity. We've never had that before. So why not grab it if you can? Here, you know, the sky's the limit.
And how about you? Got a big smile? Is this good news?
Yes.
SEED is the brainchild of Raj Vinakota and Eric Adler, two former businessmen who quit their jobs 13 years ago to take an old idea and make it new.
There's boarding schools for rich kids. Why aren't there boarding schools for poor kids? The intense academic environment, the 24-hour aspect, and constant access to role models. Why wouldn't all of those things be just as important for poor kids as it would be for rich kids?
We believe very strongly that there is a group of kids for whom the answer is a 24-hour supportive educational environment, and they're not going to have a shot if we don't give that to them.
It all starts here. The SEED campus is a 4-acre oasis, a safe zone where 340 kids can focus on school, free from distractions back at home.
Everyone has their own coordinate grid.
SEED's goal is to prepare these children academically and socially for college and beyond. The students enter in 6th and 7th grade, 80% of them performing below grade level. Charles Adams is the head of school.
We're a public school, we have a lottery, we get what we get. It could be an honor roll student, it could be a student 3-4 grade levels behind that's struggling with a number of issues at home. So we get the gamut.
I was told you have kids who come here in the 6th grade reading at a 2nd grade level.
Mm-hmm.
Is that child going to college?
Why not? Why not? I mean...
Because they're way behind, because they don't read at a proper reading level, they're behind in math, they're behind in science.
I'll take all of that.
They're behind in reading?
I'll take all of that, and they could be a pain in the neck. That's my starting point.
And you think it's working?
I know it's working.
It's a 24-hour, 5-day-a-week job, which starts on Sunday night when the kids check in from their weekends at home.
Hey, Miss Leach.
How are you, sweetie?
They live in single-sex dorms with strict rules, no television and no Facebook. The days start early, 6 a.m., and classes run from 8 to 4. Then there's study hall, extracurriculars, and tutoring. The day ends at 10.
Anthony, let's go. It's lights out.
All right.
This kind of structure and support is new to many of these students.
Okay, so this is the quad.
What's also new is visiting college as early as middle school. These 8th graders went to see American University in Washington, D.C. It's all part of reminding them of their end goal. Listen to these juniors.
Show of hands, if you're absolutely confident that you're A, going to college, and B, going to graduate college. He's got both arms up. He's so sure.
C embeds college and success and commitment into our minds on a daily basis. It's like we build and we live and we grow into scholars.
Scholars. Now, did you have that confidence before you got here, or did... No. What gave you that confidence?
The teachers.
So on the board, things that impressed you or a question you have or something.
Teachers put extra emphasis on the basics. Unlike most schools, there are 2 periods of English and 2 periods of math per day in middle school. Upperclassmen are required to read 45 minutes a day in addition to their homework. Classes are small, with 10 to 15 students.
Clearly you see that there's a lot of DNA inside of these strawberries.
Teachers like Jawan Harris know every student personally, their strengths and weaknesses.
If a child is failing, how do you help him or her?
We usually host tutorials after school. Last week I sent out an email saying 5 o'clock until they get it.
What time did they finally get it?
I would say my last student was in here probably until about 10:45.
10:45? But
Yes.
what public school teacher in D.C. works till 10:45?
I have no idea, but I know that when I leave this building, I'm walking past my principal's office, who's in her office talking to another student, and there's another teacher still in their office, so it happens often.
That kind of dedication and personalized instruction has paid off.
I'm awesome.
10th graders at Seed score 40% higher in reading and 34% higher in math compared to other minority students in their area.
I did land.
But Seed isn't just about academics. There's a life skills curriculum taught in the evenings.
The core values are respect, responsibility, integrity, self-discipline, and compassion.
Students learn social skills like self-discipline and etiquette.
Can anybody raise their hand and tell me why the skill of public speaking is important?
It helps your self-confidence.
Definitely helps your self-confidence. Good one. How's class going?
Administrator Leslie Poole has been at Seed from the start.
No one has pulled themselves up by their own bootstraps, right? Like everyone has a story about somebody who helped them.
And you're letting them hold on to your bootstraps and you're helping to pull them up.
I'm giving them everything I have.
You get the sense Seed is more of a calling than a job for people like Poole. They don't simply have to raise a kid's test scores, they have to change their values.
I think the average middle school student comes into Seed and says, I have to do 2 hours of homework? Really? I have to tuck my shirt in all the time? Really? I have to go to bed at 9 o'clock at night? I need to get 8 hours sleep? Does it really take all of that just to be successful in school? It takes all that.
Middle schoolers Francis Blackman and Melvin Brown have learned that. They're both in the 7th grade.
Are you guys happy, glad that you decided to come to Seed?
Yes.
Do you think you'll stay here till you graduate?
Yes.
You're certain of that?
Yes.
Why are you so certain?
Because I know this is where I want to be, and this is where my future is going to start. A whole new beginning of life.
That's what Seed is for you.
Mm-hmm.
You guys have long school days, right?
Yeah, we get out at 4 o'clock.
Do you mind being at school that long?
No.
No.
I'm getting more education into my brain.
More education into your brain.
When you're in class and you don't understand something, the teachers will take time out after school and during school to try and help you, and they show compassion for you.
Compassion for you. You guys have any doubt that you're going to be successful?
No. No.
And what does success look like?
You always want to believe in yourself.
You believe in yourself?
Yes. What I think success is, it's kind of what you're like. You're smart, intelligent, you're a nice reporter. You dress nice, your shoes are pretty, and it is that knowing that you're going to be something in life.
You're going to make it?
Yes.
And then there are students like 17-year-old sophomore Roger Ball, who may not make it. He came here to escape his old neighborhood where guns and gang violence are common. Last year, in one turf battle, Roger was shot in the leg. Weeks later, he was shot at again. But at Seed, he says, he feels safe.
When I come here, I feel as though I can just be laid back without worrying about nobody having to attack me or say something wrong to me. But it's like...
Someone could hurt you in that world.
Yeah.
Someone could kill you in that world.
Yeah.
Roger Ball.
At Seed, Roger's an athlete. He's a B student. Teachers say he's not a troublemaker. Yet his loyalty to his old neighborhood, his old friends, runs deep.
How many close friends do you have back in the neighborhood, number-wise?
Around like 10.
How many of those guys are going to college?
I say, nah.
A lot of people in your life feel like you're on the fence. That you could go this way and be successful, go to college, or you could go this way and end up someplace else. Do you feel that at all?
Well, I always feel as though, like, I'm gonna graduate from college. When I come to Seed, I'm in this world where as though I'm comfortable enough to focus in class, do my homework every day, like, and I'm prepared for college. But I'm just trying to escape that world, like my outside world, but it's something that's right there that's just like holding me up, holding me back.
Can't let it go.
I just can't.
Like a magnet, it pulls you back.
Just like a magnet.
You think Roger will graduate from here?
Oh, I do. Oh, come on, I do.
And he will go to college?
I do.
What makes you think Roger can be successful? And this is a kid who's been shot at.
I don't think it's in me to not think they can be successful. He has some capacity building in front of him, but Roger still has hope and he still has potential. And so I just assume not give up on him until, until he makes it and he can believe for himself.
That's part of the success formula here, getting these kids to believe in themselves as much as you believe in them.
We set high expectations. I think we push our students until they can own that and they begin to set expectations for themselves.
But some don't. Seed loses 11 to 12% of their students every year.
The reality is you can't save everybody.
The reality is that we're going to work our darndest to save everybody.
We're not going to give up on any child. We are going to work to create an environment where every single child can succeed. In the end, have there been and will there be some children for whom the clock just runs out on us? Sure, it happens. We'll never accept it. We will always work to make that not happen.
Seed's commitment to their students has brought them attention. President Obama, who's looking for ways to improve inner city schools, visited last year.
This school is a true success story, a place where for 4 of the last 5 years, every graduate from the Seed School was admitted to college. Every graduate.
This year's class is on track to do the same. With success like that, Vinicota and Adler believe there should be a Seed school in every major urban area. They opened a second boarding school in Baltimore 2 years ago, and they're planning to open a third in Cincinnati.
We'll give you some more.
The funding comes from a mixture of private donors who pay for startup costs, including building the schools, and then government money pays for most of the operating cost. At every school, the goal is the same, a day like this one last June.
I'm going to Kent State University.
Connecticut College.
Winston-Salem State University.
Kent State University.
Raise your hand if you're the first member of your family to go to college.
I'll be the first up.
In a single generation, families can not only produce a high school graduate, but a college graduate. And that changes a family forever. And that's why we do what we do.
Never has unemployment been so high for so long, and as a result, more than 16 million kids are living in poverty, the most since 1962. It's worst where the construction industry collapsed, and one of those places is Central Florida. We went there 8 months ago to meet families who'd become homeless for the first time in their lives. So many were living day to day that school buses changed their routes to pick up all the kids living in cheap motels. We called the story Hard Times Generation. Now, we've gone back to see how things have changed. It turns out some families are losing their grip on the motels and discovering that the homeless shelters are full. Where do they go then? Well, they keep up appearances by day and try to stay out of sight at night, holding on to one another in a hidden America, a place you wouldn't notice unless you ran into the people that we met in the moments before dawn. Time has carried us into uncharted territory. The Great Recession began December 2007, almost 1,500 mornings ago. If you were rushing to work this morning in Seminole County, Florida, it's not likely you'd notice the truck or hear the children getting ready for school.
In the clear bin, we have dirty laundry. In that one, there's tools that we might need.
All these bank bags are storage of this and that.
Like shampoo.
And over here is food.
So you're really not heating up food so much. You're eating out of cans?
Yep.
This is the home of the Metzger family. Ariel, 15, her brother Austin, 13. Their mother died when they were very young. Their dad, Tom, is a carpenter, and he's been looking for work ever since Florida's construction industry collapsed. When foreclosure took their house, he bought the truck on Craigslist with his last $1,000. Tom's a little camera shy, thought we ought to talk to the kids, and it didn't take long to see why. How long have you been living in this truck?
About 5 months.
What's that like?
It's an adventure.
Yeah, that's how we see it.
When kids at school ask you where you live, what do you tell them?
When they see the truck, they ask me if I live in it, and when I hesitate, they kind of realize. And they say they won't tell anybody. And
Yeah, it's not really that much of an embarrassment. I mean, it's only life. You do what you need to do, right?
It's life for a lot of folks. The number of kids in poverty in America is pushing toward 25%, 1 out of 4. Austin and Ariel usually get cleaned up for school at gas stations. They find it's best to go to different ones every day so the managers don't get sore.
Hi, Daddy.
Have a good day. Before the bell, they blend in with more than 1,100 other homeless students in the Seminole County schools. At Castleberry School, we met 15 kids who'd been living in cars. With their parents' permission, they told us you don't get much sleep with your brothers and sisters in the back seat. But that wasn't the worst part.
So we were really scared. So we'll stay up all night sometimes and watch over my mom and keep her safe.
How many of you, show me your hands, were worried about your safety while you were living in the car?
To me, it was scary because I thought something was either going to happen to my mom or my grandfather or my dad or me.
We weren't staying in a very good neighborhood, like where the car was parked, and someone came up and robbed my aunt for the little bit of money that we had.
Well, I worried that someone would just break in and steal my mom's purse.
Jade Wiley is 8 years old. She spent 3 weeks living in her car with her mom, her dad, 2 dogs, and a cat. Did you think you were ever going to get out of the car?
I thought I was going to be stuck in the car.
How'd you keep your spirits up?
I was still praying to God that somebody let us stay in the hotel.
And how did you get out of the car?
Well, there's this nice lady named Beth, and then she gave us a lot of money so we could stay at the hotel, and now I'm staying at the hotel.
She said that a nice lady named Beth came and gave the family money.
Well, a nice community came. I just delivered it.
Beth Davalos runs programs for homeless kids in the Seminole County schools. This is the video that she shot when she found Jade's family.
Well, we deal with it. Every day we deal with it when we live in the car.
We're gonna go get you a hotel room now. How do you feel about that?
Happy.
When Davalos hears of a student on the street, she uses county money and donations to get temporary shelter in a motel.
Good job.
The money she had for Jade's family lasted only a month, so the Wileys and Jade are painting the rest of the motel in exchange for a room. But this is rare. Of all the homeless families in Florida, 2/3 are living on the street.
I hear about it every week, every couple days. If they're not living in the car right now, they are avoiding it. Some of them don't even have cars to live in, or they recently got out of it.
Why is it happening right now?
The longevity of homelessness continues to rise. So people are running out of resources. The unemployment runs out, their savings run out, the family that lent them money does not have it anymore because they're looking at economic hardship. And before you know it, they find themselves living in their car because they just ran out of all options.
Earlier this year, when folks heard about the homeless students in Central Florida, $4 million in donations poured in. Beth Davalos set up food banks in 41 Seminole County schools. They gathered up clothing for the kids and shelled out cash for motel rooms.
I really appreciate it.
$4 million is a lot of money, but think of this. Of all the families without shelter in America, 1/3 are in Florida. At Castleberry School, we sat down with the Coates family.
Instead of 3 meals a day, we ended up doing 2 meals a day. And then there was this one day where we didn't have any more money, and that's how we ended up in the car.
Last year, the Coates left Washington, D.C. for a new life in Florida, but the jobs dried up. When the savings went, Victoria and D'Angelo learned how to be homeless. They found out there's a checklist for living in a car. You want security, lighting, a place where you might be welcome, or at least a place busy enough to hide in. Walmart lots can be good, it depends on the manager. YMCAs mostly look the other way. D'Angelo settled outside a hospital emergency room.
And we knew that through being there, we could at least brush our teeth in the morning, go to the bathroom if we need to in the middle of the night. And I'm sitting on a cooler in between our vehicle and another vehicle, just to make sure they're okay.
Standing guard all night.
Yep.
D'Angelo, what does a man think about sitting on a cooler all night with his family in the car next to him?
At that moment, I guess I feel less than a dad, I guess I could say, or as a husband, because I'm not able to provide for my family.
Going into that car really did something to me. I felt helpless. I felt like I couldn't help my children.
I am willing to bet that the whole time you were in the car, you didn't cry once, did you? Not in front of these guys. When it came time to put the girls in school, the school must have asked you for an address.
That, okay, well, you have these boxes to choose, and you had one that said shelter.
You checked the shelter box?
Yeah.
There was no box for car,
No,
so you lied to them.
basically.
You do what you have to do.
There was not an option to take my girls away.
I wonder if some of these families are hiding from the system, hiding from you.
Yeah.
Because as one woman put it to us today, she said, I was afraid that if they found out we were living in the car, the state would take my children away from me.
Yeah, they're scared. They're very scared. And the reality is, if the state found them in a car, their children could be taken away and put someplace safe for now. But when we find them, we can put them someplace safe.
The Coates tried to go someplace safe. They called every shelter in the area, but they were all full. After 10 days in the car, the only thing in the bottom of the cooler was an orange. So Victoria started calling again.
And We called each and every one of them. And then I got to the last one, which was Orlando Rescue Mission. And I called and the lady said, we have programs for your entire family.
You must have thought you weren't hearing right.
Yeah.
How close did you come to running out of gas on the way to the rescue mission?
We had like maybe a quarter tank before the E.
So really all you had to your names at that point was a quarter of a tank and an orange.
That's right.
It wasn't long after the family made it into the shelter that D'Angelo found a job. He's manhandling garbage cans and proud to have the work.
The hard work's good for you. I'm thankful to have a job.
With help from his employer, they hope to get Jamie, Jamia, and Jayla in a home of their own by Christmas. What do you know now that you didn't know before you lived in the car?
I know to be grateful that you have your family and that my mom is really, really, really protective.
Protective because there is a ferocity that comes with being a parent on the street. Hiding the kids from cops and criminals, watching options grow shorter, the days longer, and the nights are just stubborn, sitting on a cooler, waiting for the sun. One threat to a family out here is idleness, so the folks that we met fill the days with every free and normal thing. After school, the Metzgers drive their truck to the library.
Because they've got the computers that we can use and light and all that.
I wonder what education means to you two.
I mean,
it's everything.
It is everything to us. I plan to be a child defense lawyer. If I focus on my studies, I have that opportunity.
The American dream is durable, and there is something about growing up in a truck that makes you believe in it all the more. As we tagged along with the Metzgers, they told us they liked the truck better than a motel, and they wanted to show us something they've been doing in the evenings. They're acting in a community theater, a free and normal thing. On stage, they had a chance to be somebody else, but what struck us most was that they were just as happy in their roles as the Metzgers.
Before the truck, I always saw all these homeless people and I would feel so bad for them. And then as soon as we started living in the truck ourselves, I've seen even more, and I just feel so bad. And even though I'm homeless myself, I want to do as much as I can to help them get back up on their feet.
You sound very adult to me.
She is. She likes to take over.
And you too, a little bit, Austin. You had to grow up pretty fast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Every time I see like a teenager or any other kid fighting with their parents or arguing with them and like not doing what they're told, it really hurts me because they could be in my shoes, and of course I don't want them to be in my shoes, but they need to learn to appreciate what they have and who they have in their life because it may be the last day they might have it.
At the end of this day, when the play was over and the kids were ready for bed, Tom Metzger judged the lighting behind the theater and decided this was as good a spot as any in Seminole County to make a home for the night.